morning, everyone, or good afternoon. It's 12 noon here in Tuba City. Across the street on the Hopi side, it's 11. So I'll just say good morning to everyone. So I am Raquel Black. Raquel Black in the shift. Here on in the Shlong, Ashina Buses Chin, Sanjikine Bus, sorry, this is Che and Torajitni, Nadashanale. Those are my clans and how I identify as a Navajo woman. I'm co-working manager for Change Labs. I'm from Shanto, Arizona, and I live in Pinyon, Arizona on the Navajo Nation. Thank you all for taking the time to be with us today. I'm really excited for this presentation, especially with how new the software is and how everyone's still trying to navigate and figure out how it can help them. And I'm really excited that Heather and Holly are here to present with us as well. They're my colleagues with Change Labs. First off, I'd like to give a really brief introduction of Change Labs and who we are and what we do for those who aren't completely aware. Change Labs is a Native-led and Native-controlled nonprofit organization based on the Navajo and Hopi nations, I'm sorry. Our goal and mission is to provide creative work-based tools, resources, and knowledge for Native entrepreneurs and business owners. How we accomplish those goals and our goals and our mission is through our different programs. We have a co-working program, for example. We have a business incubator and a kinship lending program. We are based in Tuba City, Arizona, which is where I'm at finally. Our building is completed. We had our grand opening last month and we are open for business. Change Labs programs were developed to strengthen the entrepreneur ecosystem on the Navajo Nation by affecting societal norms on how Native populations perceive entrepreneurship, highlighting role models, building a network of peer and mentorship support, developing leadership and capacity of participants, and then really growing the community of entrepreneurs on reservation lands. And here we have our mighty team that helped make Change Lab the great organization that it is today. You'll notice Heather and Holly there. Heather's our executive director. Holly is our incubator coach and program coordinator. We also have our co-founder and incubator coach, Jessica Stago, and many of our other great staff, including Cecilia, the director of the incubator, Christine, the director of the kinship lending program, and then her colleague within the program, Swarovski Little, and then a couple of really great coaches, Tim Deal and Joe Elliott Nez, and our finance director, the one who makes all the stuff move around in Change Labs. So she's our best friend. To talk about the co-working program, construction is done and completed, and we are here in the physical space right now. Myself and one of our coaches, Tim, are here. You can hear him in the background. We are located in Tuba City, right next to the chapter house. If you're familiar with the layout of Tuba City, we're on Main Street. For those who are not familiar with what a co-working space is, it is a community space for business owners and entrepreneurs to use and help operate and manage their business. This space in particular will serve Native entrepreneurs and small business owners, especially those based on Navajo and Hopi Nation within the Four Corners area. Some of the services that we are providing now here in person are some tools that we think that would be really useful to our business owners and entrepreneurs. Tools such as desk-based, in-person coaching, Wi-Fi access, color printing, and a lot more, especially workshops such as today's workshop. We are offering hybrid and in-person workshops again, and we're so excited for that. We will also bring back monthly in-person trainings starting next Monday. We have our awesome coach, Swarovski Little. He will be here on Monday from 11 to 5 and available to coach different appointments for those who sign up with him. And our list of co-working services is constantly being updated as far as how we want to support our local community and our entrepreneurs and business owners here at the eShip Hub. And we're always open to new ideas on how we can better support you and our community. So if you have any ideas and suggestions, please let us know. We are really excited that the space is open for everyone and to help build and grow all of our entrepreneurs, our Native entrepreneurs and small business owners, business ideas and businesses themselves. So please stay tuned for more information as we get more of our programming aligned, as we get more events here scheduled. And if you're interested in seeing the space here, feel free to let me know. I'll have my email in the next couple of slides up. Moving on. A part of our co-working program, we have business coaching. We offer free virtual or in-person 90-minute appointments with any of our business coaches. Our coaches are available on Mondays from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. and they each have their own area of expertise, depending on what you're looking for. Our team of very bright and eager coaches are able to assist you with things like marketing, accounting, information on bookkeeping. So it's a really, really great product and service that we provide. You can find more information at nativestartup.org/events. And then you can also message me or send me an email and I can walk you through it as well. Moving along, one of our most popular questions that we get here at Change Labs is, how do I start a business? So all of our programs and services here are designed to help our Native entrepreneurs, our artisans, our local vendors, and those we like to call change makers, because that's what our local vendors and artisans and business owners are. You're change makers. And if you're a Native entrepreneur yourself or a small business owner, please know that you're absolutely crucial to our local economy, and we are here to support you and to both start up and strengthen your business. And now for a business incubator. Is one of the only Native-led business incubators for Native entrepreneurs in this country, and we're based here in Tuba City. Here you see a picture at one of our most recent events, our alumni celebration / graduation, our incubator graduation, and we have a lot of our colorful, bright and inspiring entrepreneurs who are part of the incubator program here in that picture. And what Change Lab does is offer the incubator program, which is an interactive cohort program created to support Native entrepreneurs residing on the Navajo and Hopi reservations looking to start, build, and grow their business or nonprofit. Incubator members are coached one-on-one bi-monthly and attain new tools and skills throughout 2-hour learning labs led by experienced business coaches and entrepreneurs. So please look out for the fall 2023, this fall 2023, for announcements to apply for the new cycle that's coming up for entrepreneurs in the incubator program, or experience our coaching during Monday coaching, as of course, by booking with Holly or Cecilia. And you can find more information at nativestartup.org/incubator. Another question we get is, how do I get help running my business? Here at Change Labs, one of our driving factors is kinship. Building relationships among our communities and our nations. And speaking of kinship, I want to talk about another one of our programs, which is the Kinship Lending Program. The Kinship Lending is a microloan program, and we lend up to $5,000. Change Labs incubator alumni actually are eligible for up to $10,000. And we offer financial education programs and business coaching as part of that program. We will open up our next round of applications later in August this year. So if you're interested in more information or applying, or if you know someone who may be interested or qualified, or if you want to know if you're qualified, send me a message and I can get you connected with Christine or Savosky, my colleagues that are part of that program. Or you can also visit the website, nativestartup.org/kinship lending. One more common question that we get is, how do I create a website? So we are going to start hosting open studio hours now that we have the space here. But in the meantime, until those events get scheduled, I will refer you to the YouTube channel. We currently have over 50 recorded sessions, discussions, designed for Native entrepreneurs, and all led by other Native entrepreneurs and others in our network. Our workshops have covered, similar to this workshop, have covered topics like social media marketing, website design, doing business on the Navajo Nation, and a lot more. I was just scrolling through them earlier with another visitor, and there's a ton of information. And I started watching one earlier this morning. It was really, really awesome, even though I was part of that workshop myself. It's a growing archive of shared knowledge from other Natives and other professionals who really want to just see our Native peoples and their businesses thrive. To access any of those sessions, you can, or resources as well, you can visit the website. It's nativestartup.org/resources. And then another great resource I want to refer you to is our social media platforms. So we're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. So I recommend you check out all of those platforms, because we do share a lot of great information, a lot of great updates that aren't always on our website. And then stuff that are on our website gets promoted on our socials. And then we share also information from others that we follow and that we think have really great information and events and resources that would be valuable to the Native entrepreneurs and small business owners that we look to serve. And lastly, we have a really great site called resrising.org. If you're in the market for finding other Native service providers or Native product makers who can help you with your business, we have over 600 Native-owned businesses listed on this site, and we think they're all really great resources to help you with starting your business and running your business as well. And also, if you're interested in Native-made projects, this is a really good site to see. It's not just Navajo or Hopi artisans, it's all natives throughout the country here. And feel free to add yourself if you are a Native entrepreneur or you have your business. It's a really simple process. And I think I always refer to people who message me asking for references. If you have any questions about ChangeLab, or if I was talking too fast, I apologize. Send me an email and I will go over it with you. My email is raquel@nativestartup.org. And then you can also visit the website here, nativestartup.org. Okay, so before we get started, I want to go over workshop etiquette for today. We ask that everyone stay on mute unless you're called upon. You can raise your little virtual hand or you can populate the chat box and we'll make sure to get to your question before we end our session today. And then another reminder, our session is being recorded and will be available on ChangeLab's YouTube channel later on this week, or probably next week. Today's Friday. Okay, introducing today's speakers for today. We have ChangeLab's Executive Director and Co-founder, Heather Fleming, and our colleague and program coordinator and business coach for a whole multi-hat team for the incubator, Holly Patterson. So I will turn it over to you two, Heather and Holly. Take it away.
Thank you, Raquel. That was a fabulous introduction. Let me screen share because Holly and I have a few resources that we want to share with you all today. So my name is Heather Fleming, and I'm the Executive Director at ChangeLabs in Tuba City. And Holly, do you want to do an introduction?
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Holly Patterson. I am one of the business coaches, primarily with the incubator program that we have here at ChangeLabs. I work with entrepreneurs far and wide amongst vast different businesses, and so I do one-on-one coaching with them almost every last Monday of the month, as well as two through our incubator program, one-on-one coaching, and I offer other webinars too that you can check out on YouTube in case you want to see what I cover. But yeah, it's super great to be here.
So Holly and I have been two of the team members at ChangeLabs that were really excited about trying out AI tools. I think we were, I guess we would call the early adopters amongst the team. So we were really excited about this opportunity to put together a workshop on some of the tools that we've been using and some of the things that we've learned. Before we get started today, I think it would help if you all were willing to share a little bit with us about what are your gut reactions about generative AI, or another way to think about it is what brought you to this workshop today, or what are you all trying to learn? So we invite you to unmute yourself or just throw that up in the chat window if you prefer. And I think that will help Holly and I adjust our tone today as we're going through some of the tools that we have in mind. So please go ahead and take a moment to answer this question. And while you're thinking it through, the big tools that we're going to show and discuss today are all what we call generative AI tools. So first things first is we want to make sure that everyone's here today understands what we mean when we say generative AI. And to help answer that question, we brought in a specialist, Jessie Woden, who is a physicist and lab director of applied science at SRI International, which does extensive work on artificial intelligence. Jessie also happens to be my husband. So I learned everything about AI from him, and I have never met anybody so technology forward. So I'm gonna hand it over to Jessie to walk us through what is generative AI and what does it mean when we say that it's learning. Thank you for joining us, Jessie.
Oh, thanks a lot. Yeah, so generative AI is computer code that's running on computers. It's based on many, many decades of research and development, starting actually in the 1950s, actually really when computers were first being developed, people started thinking about artificial intelligence. They didn't really know what it was, but after that much time, it's really matured and recently exploded. Generative AI is computer code that people write that's running typically on very large clusters of computers, thousands and thousands of computers, that learns patterns and structure of input training data. So it actually learns. Don't be fooled. It doesn't learn like a human. It's not a human brain. It's structured completely different. It's very much computer code. So it's not the Terminator, but it is an incredible pattern recognition system. And in fact, it's better than people. So what people do is they train it. So companies like OpenAI will find an image of a cat on the internet. And they will literally pixel by pixel of that cat, feed it to the AI. It's just a computer code, it ingests it. Now, it doesn't have eyeballs. Literally, it reads out the actual color value of every single pixel in that image. And then the researcher will say, that's a black cat that's standing on a ledge looking at a squirrel. And it doesn't know what that means, but you just labeled it. Now imagine you do that about 1 billion times. And each time you do that, it learns, oh, okay, that's a cat that's trying to eat a hot dog underneath a bench. That's a cat falling from a building. And it starts to learn that stuff. After you do it about 1 billion times, there's a whole language side that I gleaned over where they actually taught it to learn English language. Then it's somehow encoded all of that information in this huge supercomputer, and you can now ask it to generate a cat. And what it generates every time is completely new. So it's not taking what it's learned and just spitting it out again. It now understands, oh, you want a cat that's trying to write a novel on a typewriter in Florence. Okay, now it's ingested billions and billions and billions of images, pixel by pixel, and it's identified the patterns. And it will create an image for you almost instantly on this huge computer of a cat at a typewriter in Florence. So it really identifies patterns, and then it responds to prompts to then generate, that's why it's called generative, something based on that pattern. So some of the issues, so it currently people have been able to build these systems and train it on text. So that's like English, at some point Navajo, I'm sure, Mandarin, name your language. They've trained it on computer code, so Python, C++, and so on. Images, molecular structure, music, actual music, video, and also robotic actions. That's kind of like the general group. And people have started to mix and match. So they've said, design a molecule that looks like a dog. That's not particularly useful, but it can actually do that. There's a lot of issues that have popped up with this now. One is the energy usage. So even though you may interact with it on the internet, what's actually happening is in a supercomputer somewhere, it's running huge amounts of calculations, which is incredibly energy intensive. And so you get a result very quickly when you talk to ChatGPT and ask it to write you a poem. But there's a lot that's happening behind the scenes there. It's biased by all of the training data. So ultimately, humans are training these things. And so, well, what are they training it on? Well, at some point, someone's making a choice. So it's biased, just like a person. The data that it's trained on may be owned by other people. If it may be just trained by images on the internet, but they may be copyrighted. That's the subject of a lot of lawsuits right now. It may not give correct answers to questions. It's very good at sounding real because it's been trained to act like to speak like a human. But you may say, what's 3 + 7? And it'll say, oh, it's absolutely 19, kind of stuff. And it's not a human. It doesn't have a way to really verify that it's correct. It's not logical, it's just answering. But and then I think finally, there's a lot of implications with regards to jobs and learning, both positively and negatively. You can trivially ask it to write an essay on the Revolutionary War from the perspective of slaves at the time. And it will write something that sounds pretty intelligent. There may be a few errors in there. So I think people are trying to figure out how that's going to play out in society in general.
Thank you, Jesse.
Sure, no problem.
We're using a little bit of your time today. Does anybody have any quick questions for Jesse before we let him log off? All righty. Thanks so much for joining us. You're welcome to stay, of course, but I know that you've got to get back to your workday. But I appreciate you giving us that quick background on what we mean by generative AI.
Thanks.
All right. So with that context, Holly and I are going to share. So the title of this workshop was 5 things that Native businesses and nonprofit leaders or 5 things. I forget exactly what it was, but I think we said 5 things that we can start using today, AI generative tools to start using today. So thing number 1, or task number 1, tool number 1, however you want to think about it. This is the one that I use the most. Editing proposals, writing grants, drafting a press release, drafting emails and all donor communications. I have been using this tool quite a bit at Change Labs. It's probably the one that most people think of when they think of generative AI, and that is ChatGPT. If you haven't yet played around with ChatGPT, here's the link here. I highly, highly recommend. It's a very friendly way, I think, to break into the generative AI tools and platforms. So I'm going to do a really quick demo for those of you who haven't used it yet. Let me just show you what it looks like. So it looks pretty simple. I want to emphasize ChatGPT is not the same as Google, and we'll kind of talk about that in a little bit. But like Jesse said, it's not a human, but you can interact with it like it's a human. I think Microsoft is using the metaphor Copilot, which I personally really like. Later on, I'm going to refer to ChatGPT as an intelligent intern. But I just plugged in a question down here for ChatGPT. What are 3 unique services an Arizona nonprofit could offer rural entrepreneurs living on a Native American reservation? And it types you a response just like that. And sometimes the answer is super awesome and amazing. And other times you're like, I don't know about that. But it, as opposed to a search engine that basically just scans the internet and pulls up the most relevant links, it instead drafts you a response like a letter. And personally, I've been using it for all kinds of things. If I'll be writing a grant proposal, and a lot of grant proposals say like, you have 250 characters to answer this response. What is the unique selling proposition of Change Labs? I will draft a response, or sometimes I ask ChatGPT to draft my response, but usually I'll draft a response, but I can't get it within the 250 character count. So I'll ask ChatGPT to clean up my writing and do that part. And oh my gosh, I feel, to me, that's one of my favorite things to use it for, because I know it's not going to hallucinate. I know that it's going to spit back something that's pretty well written, and it'll probably put a spin on it that I hadn't considered. So I've been finding it to be a really effective tool for proposal, grant writing, emails, all that stuff. I'm curious to see what it says. So it says, oh, isn't this awesome? Its first recommendation is a business incubator, which is exactly what we do. So I'm excited about that. Its second recommendation is a cultural business development workshops, which is what we're doing right now. So we're 2 out of 2 for what ChatGPT thinks that an Arizona nonprofit should be doing to support rural entrepreneurs. And the third is a digital skills training and e-commerce support. That's interesting, because we're kind of doing a little bit about that right now, but we'll take that into consideration maybe as a third offering at Change Labs. hopefully you guys are on ChatGPT playing around. So I picked out 6 things that you could use ChatGPT for that I've been using it for. I've already mentioned editing proposals or writing grants. I've mentioned drafting a press release. We just had a major press announcement here at Change Labs when we did the grand opening of our new facilities in Tuba City last month, and ChatGPT was really great at doing some copy editing for that. You can have it write emails, like we're going through a round of applications for both our lending work and also our business incubator. So ChatGPT could draft all the emails that say like, congratulations, you've been accepted, or we're sorry, we had to pass on your application. Also, brainstorming and developing your value proposition, similar to the prompt that I just asked it, what are things that an Arizona nonprofit could be doing? You could be asking it similar questions. So the example I have here is analyze the top 3 competitors in the Native American arts and craft industry and suggest unique selling points for a new business. You can use it to develop your impact model if you're a nonprofit, or your business model if you're a for-profit. So I have in here, recommend three ways a co-working space can improve customer experience when entering the building. That probably generates some good ideas for Change Labs in terms of our new Tuba City eShip hub. You can also use it for things like compliance and protection. There's a lot of chatter out there about how ChatGPT is going to impact the legal world, since a lot of the legal world is books that ChatGPT can absorb, and also case studies that ChatGPT can absorb. So you could say, we get this question quite a bit, but ChatGPT could be of some help. Suggest a plan for how an artist can protect the artwork she posts online, or create a checklist of legal documents needed to start a nonprofit in Arizona. These are great uses of the tool. The things that you need to keep in mind, though, and Jesse touched on each of these, is that you still have to fact check the work. So I used the word hallucinate a little bit earlier, and ChatGPT is notorious for hallucinations. And that's the term that's used when ChatGPT more or less makes something up based on what it's learned, but it's not always going to be correct. I was listening to this podcast recently, and they really like the metaphor that Microsoft is using, which is Copilot, because when you have a Copilot, you are still the pilot, you are still responsible. And the pilot, in theory, would never let the Copilot just take over, and so the pilot could just fall asleep at the wheel. If you're using ChatGPT to write proposals or draft emails, you still got to check it to make sure that it's not just making something up or providing inaccurate information. And then similar to that, as Jesse mentioned, because ChatGPT was trained using biased content, there's bias in everything that humans create, Wikipedia articles, scientific journals. So all of that is reflected back in ChatGPT's answers. For example, there's a lot of concern in the lending community about lenders using ChatGPT to underwrite loans, because ChatGPT is based on content and data that is inherently biased. There's not a lot of data on the internet about Native American entrepreneurs, for example. So if ChatGPT is reliant on pre-existing data to underwrite a loan for a Native American entrepreneur, it might assume that because there's no data that it's a risky loan. But that's not always the case. So be on the lookout for bias if you're using this tool. Also keep in mind, it's only current through 2021. Yes, ChatGPT is learning every single day. If you use it, you are contributing to its knowledge. Not for sure, but you might be contributing to its knowledge. When it was launched at the end of last year, publicly, it was trained on materials that date through 2021. So the first test I did is I wanted to see if it knew what Change Labs was, and that helped me understand its understanding of Change Labs. But if I ask that same question the very next day, it'll give me a similar but different response because it's always learning. So just something to keep in mind if you're doing something that is relevant to what happened after 2021. And then the last thing, I'm going to hammer this point again, is that you can interact with it kind of like you would a human. So you can ask it a question, and if you don't like the way that it responds, you can say, you can type back like, can you clarify what you mean by this? Or can you do this again, but from the perspective of blah, blah, blah? Or can you rewrite this in less than 500 words? That is not something that you can do with a tool like Google. So the takeaway here is don't use ChatGPT the way that you use with Google. It's not the same tool. It's not a search engine. Think of it like, I really like the intern model, because you would still check an intern's work, but if you hire a super intelligent intern, you would expect them to do a lot of the great thinking and research for you. And the challenge that I have, and I think it's similar to what one of our guests wrote, is try chatting with ChatGPT every day for 1 week. You can start with something simple like, give me a recipe idea for, if I have zucchini, a tomato, and garlic, give me some recipe ideas for tonight's dinner. Or have it draft an email that you need written, or have it edit a document and ask it to revise the answer. Those are low-hanging fruit things that you can do that will help build your understanding of how the tool works and the types of outputs that you'll get from it. All right, we're going to move on to our next tool, but are there any questions about this very, very basic one, ChatGPT? All right, we'll move on to the second thing, brand development and storytelling. I hand it to you, Holly.
Great, thanks so much. Yes, I have a lot of tools to show you guys, so we'll hopefully try to go through this pretty brief, but also too intensive of like how it works. So going into the very first tool, it's called Chroma. And it's a wonderful AI tool that helps you with color palettes. I think you just got to click one more time. And so this is the interface. This is what the website looks like after you have put that website URL into your Google Finder. And so you'll come to this, and it's an amazing tool that I love to use, especially with a lot of the entrepreneurs who are actually developing their physical idea and personality of their business. So in our incubator program, we go through this wonderful stage of Create and Elevate, in which that we are connecting our business entrepreneurs with really kind of formalizing and developing what their business could look like, the personality, the characteristics, the brand identity, with it all. And I think a lot of people struggle with color. A lot of designers end up starting with black and white, which is very typical, and then expanding into color can be very hard. And especially with Indigenous artisans who want to set themselves apart and maybe break out of Southwest color palettes, or maybe heavily emphasize Southwest color palettes, this is a great tool to kind of get started with that. So in the next slide, I'll show you exactly a little bit more what it talks about. So it's a personalized algorithm. It creates an infinitive combos of colors. You can search them. You can, after getting the title of the color code, or even to the title of the color within Chroma, and you can save the collections as a favorite within a certain tab. And so when you accept the cookies, it's stored within your website. Every single time you reload the page, you'll have all of your favorites again until you cleared your history and cleared your website browsing. You can always go back to editing it again. And then I'll show you in the next slide here how you are able to choose your colors. So when you start kind of going into this program, you're choosing a set of your favorite 50 colors, as they like to put it. And so it's an infinite scroll. So you can continue scrolling and scrolling, and then it'll just continue to pop up all these different kind of colors that are at your disposal to select and deselect. And so why it makes you choose so many is because that it ensures that Chroma doesn't mistakenly think that you want one color over another. And as well as the larger the variety of colors, so a lot of blues over greens or pinks, it'll start to actually really kind of learn and start pairing of what your dominant colors are going to be. And that's going to show up in a lot of the palette colors that you're creating. So here in the next slide, it's going to show you a little bit of the demo that I went through of just quickly going through this. So And this is really kind of showing you how the interface looks like. So here I am just selecting some of these color palettes randomly and very quickly, just so that I could go through this demo pretty fast. But you can either deselect, select up in the top right corner. You can see how many colors you have left, and it continues to build essentially your color palette span at the very top of the website. And so as you go through, you can just keep scrolling, picking anything really. It'll give some helpful suggestions if you're picking one color combination over another. It'll say like, pick more magenta if you want an accurate read. And so as you keep going, it'll give you a lot of helpful hints throughout you're experiencing through this website, and I'll start to generate the data. And so through this, it's actually training itself and learning based off of the colors that you picked. And because of my internet, this takes a little bit of time. Usually it's pretty fast. If you're not using a hotspot like I am, this will go super fast. It is pretty instant. However, mine was a little bit lacking. I had a lot of applications open, but I love using this tool just because I've seen a lot of individuals like really can't let go of a certain color. However, they have no idea how to pair it with another color. And so I really like to use this tool as an example, or even to an idea phase for individuals who are trying to incorporate color into their social media, into their marketing. We're seeing a lot of kind of block coloring that's happening on Instagram. So this is something that's really kind of great if you want to add more color, or also to, be a little fun with your creations that you're doing to promote your business or promote anything within your organization. A lot of people, I try to use this tool to help people kind of diversify the templates that they start from in Canva. So here it is, it generated everything. So these are complementary, the text kind of format. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. I believe there's 4 different forms that you can take your colors into. And so you can switch these. It continues to auto-generate. This is also an infinite scroll as well too. You can definitely pull the color hex codes, and these are universal across Adobe Creative Suite. I even use it in Canva. I've used it in Google Sheets. Like any one of these color codes, you can just implement and input into really anywhere on the internet or the tools that you currently use. So these are just kind of different ways of showing you what those color combinations look like and what is possible within it. So these are kind of great things, especially if you don't want to continue to use a solid white background or black background. You can definitely go into here and really kind of expand your knowledge of color, but also to your creativity within color. So it's just showing you a lot more examples here. But one of the things I do like to use about this is the fact it gets people kind of understanding that they can build really unique websites. They can build a lot of interactive websites, highlight things in a different way than just the typical primary colors. So I really kind of recommend this tool as a great place to kind of get started for individuals. So this is, each one of these pages is going to be an infinite scroll. So you can just keep going and keep going with this. Never can get bored, I would say. So I just wanted to go through one last example just to show you guys. So I'm just waiting on retrospectively me in the past to go forward. And this is their favorites bar. So after you heart certain things, you can go to your favorites bar and see all the colors that you really kind of liked. And you can actually change the bias between it so that you're able to shift it of having like a different color combination if you want to change the theme, the backing on it all, as well as upload your own branding colors to it so that you can learn from what you like and help pair and create more, I guess, like more complementary, unique colors to the current color palette that you already have. So you don't have to essentially use that. You can add on to your current branding guidelines that you're using. So, and then you can always edit the colors that you originally chose as well too. So you just go back and go back through all of it. So this is a wonderful tool. I really do like it and highly recommend everybody kind of playing around with it. As we go into the next one of another color palette, it's called Color Mine. So Color Mine is another wonderful tool that I love to start people with, especially when they already have a branding guidelines established. One of the great things about it is that it has this very amazing tool called image upload. So on image upload, next slide, image upload, you're able to upload your current logo or even to just a scenic picture that you really kind of like, and you want to implement those colors into your branding guidelines or your social media creation, anything, or honestly just find out what those colors are. And so you're able to pull that information and then add it into fields of your colored fields in Canva, Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, and things like that to better help it. One step further that you can actually take this into, oh shoot, did not add it, but this is a good example anyways. On the top, if you go back, Heather, just one. So when you're on this one, which is their main website page, you're able to edit those fields of each one of those numbers into having a corresponding color code that you specifically want. You're able to lock it and keep regenerating complementary colors to that. So if you, out of these 5 that are shown, you're able to lock one of them, 2 of them, to all of them, and keep regenerating color palettes to get complementary colors to those colors that you've locked down and have selected. So that's one of the great things I really do like about it. As you scroll further down into the page, which I don't have on this template, but if you go to the website, you'll be able to see it. That there's templates, there's moods. People have done like whole entire movie and filmography, color palettes, as well as to album covers, a lot of things within pop culture they've created color palettes from that you can pull inspiration from and add to your creation of storytelling, and as well as any type of like graphics that you're building. So I really like that one. And then let's go 2 slides ahead to Brandmark. And this is a wonderful tool. We kind of integrated this with our incubator program this year. So some entrepreneurs actually got to really kind of utilize this tool as a great place to really start understanding what goes into logo building, and as well as to just like brand identity. So this is called Brandmark. It's a really cool tool that I was so excited to kind of get my hands on and start working with. So one of the great things about Brandmark is when you start kind of inputting the fields and creating your first logo, it's basically a very easy 3-step process, very super simplified. You put in the name of the title of your company, if you have a slogan, as well as to any kind of keywords that are identifiable about your company. So these are things that you could pull a value proposition, such as like for Change Jobs, we're a business, we're creative, we're community centered, things like that of keywords. And then you could also put things like flowers or organic and things like that. And then they simplified it into certain sections of a color palette as being vibrant, organic, very simple, a high contrast, things like that. And then after that, it's generative, and it starts kind of building the logos based off of the information that you put together, which in the next slide, you will see of what I've created. So I put a whole entire thing. If you were to rebrand Change Labs' logo, I put creative, I believe, entrepreneurs or adventurous and things like that. And I was able to pull this infinite slide that rotates horizontally of different types of logos that are out there. And it'll give you actual mock-ups of showing you what it could look like on products, as well as to the color palettes that are associated with the logo that you've selected. It even goes further into where into the next slide, that you can see if you really like the logo, but you don't like the color combinations that are happening, that you're able to select and edit and have different kind of colors come up together, and in which that you may prefer the logo a lot more in a different color type. So this is a really cool tool that I love to use with first-time entrepreneurs who are, trying out a business name, seeing what it looks like, seeing what it could look like on products, and outside of just like on a piece of paper. So I really like to use this heavily whenever people are very stuck on like what they should name their business, rebranding, as well too if they want icons even in their logo. So this is kind of a great place to get started and build upon as you go further into developing the characteristics around your business and storytelling. So another amazing thing is the Brandmark tools. As we go into the next slide, it'll show you 4 different tools that Brandmark has expanded into. This is right from their website to their toolbar or tool tab. I haven't used these all extensively just yet. I am still learning to use these tools, but I think they've become really kind of great in testing some things for some of the entrepreneurs that I've been working with. We've done an AI color wheel again. That's very similar to ColorMine and Chroma, of just showing and ranking and giving some colorful ideas of where you could pivot to, but also to incorporate within to your business. There's a logo ranking to just show the high contrast, or even to the identify, like how you can identify, or if it's easy to identify, or what is like actually being recognized out of the whole entire image of your logos, as well as to a logo crunch. So a lot of us may not have this problem, but some individuals have had this problem with uploading their logo of a very high resolution because they get it on printed products, that whenever it gets minimized to a small tab on their website. So like if you go to anything within like Google Sheets, there's a tab. Whenever you have these tabs, there's a small little icon that indicates what website you're on or what website it's being pulled from. So whenever you are that far into building your website, you can actually minimize your logo to fitting within those pixels. So that's where logo crunch comes to help you, is to minimize it without, going back to trying to figure out how to minimize it through Adobe Illustrator or any type of files that you have, or even if you're trying to do it from a PNG. And then the font generator is a great place to get started of understanding the copyright and the building of your website. A lot of individuals, when they go into brand work, is that they want a specialized font, which, is an amazing thing to do. However, it gets hard when you start outsourcing a lot of your work, because you need to have those font files transferred to the contract worker that you're working with, the designer that you're working with. And sometimes that can be very hard when you're not familiar with those transfer of files. So a font generator, what this tool does, it allows you to select very common fonts across almost every single tool out there, from Word or Microsoft Word to Google Slides to Google Sheets, anything that is out there of free content. You're able to build your own kind of typography hierarchy. So whatever your title fonts are going to be, whatever your body text are going to be, and really kind of try it out and see what it looks like in an actual website form of a mock-up. So that's one of the great things that I really like that Brandmark has expanded into, versus just kind of logo creation. But it has these like amazing forward tools that you can start using if you're not looking for a logo. So as we go into like, how do we use these tools? Do we use them all separately, or can we combine them? Of course. So in my next slide, I'll be showing you a simple kind of 3-part stage of how you can start combining the colors of Chroma and the ColorMine, or even to Brandmark, and start kind of building storytelling. So one very cost-effective way is the fact that you can actually start building your color palettes, finding out what colors you like from those tools, and then start inputting them into Canva on the free membership, and start kind of building your branding guidelines or your brand identity within Canva, which is completely free. And then from that point, you start building content that you start pushing out of digital media or even printed products. And then from there, you start really kind of developing or having a foot into creating like consistent content for your business or your organization. So that's a very easy thing. Each one of these tools can be used on its own completely, or it can be helped to build into other tools. So I think that's one of the great things about AI tools, is that a lot of them are becoming plugins themselves. They're about kind of being these like Lego blocks, in which you take some Lego blocks from here and then you add it to here of this tool, and you're creating this wonderful thing for your business or for your organization. So before we go into the next one, I want to pause there for a second, check the chat, and then also too, if there's any questions. If you want any more help on this too, because I know we went through this one a little bit fast with a lot of tools, definitely book a session with me. I would love to kind of work this through. This is something that I definitely love to help people with, and as well as too, it's really, really cost effective. I think I tell my teammates here at Change Labs that I'm really scrappy. I'm all about the free trials first before actually purchasing anything. So yeah, but I'll hand it off to Heather.
Holly, one quick question.
Yeah.
We have a couple of our alumni here at the eShip Hub. And they have a question. They want to know if the software would replace the branding coaching.
No, because I think if anything, it's a great starting off point for people who already, again, want to incorporate more color into their business. And then also too, I think it's a great place for people who don't have the budget nor the financial support to go off and hire a graphic designer, because those sessions can be extremely expensive depending on what type of work that you're looking for. Anything for hand-drawn art and as well as to building your own custom font can come at a very pricey expense, especially if you're billing a graphic designer hourly. So if you're trying to get an idea, I've talked extensively actually with one of our very good friends of Change Labs, Jeremy Arvizo. And when I was walking through these tools with him, he actually uses it today within his business, being a graphic designer, that when people have a very hard time kind of describing what they want out of their design work, he actually turns them toward these tools so that they can have a better time and confidence describing what they want, and also to the color combinations within it. Because I think that's one of the things, if you've never worked with a designer before, if you've never kind of consulted with a person within this type of work, it can be a frustrating process when you have no idea where the starting platform is besides some very general key terms. And so having a very good idea of hey, these are not what I like, or this is definitely where I want to push into, these are great tools to jump off from that point. So I don't think it's not going to replace at all in the type of the design work that people are doing out there, of this is their full career and what they've studied, or this is what they're super interested within. But I think it's a great and cost-effective way of implementing it into their business if they don't have the type of budget to pay for hour sessions, hour by work, or even huge projects. So yeah.
One last tool that we wanted to share as it relates to brand and storytelling development for your business or your nonprofit is the tool Imagine. So I think there's already a lot of talk about, oh my gosh, what's OpenAI's? It's the most incredible photorealistic image generator. I can't think of it right now, but it's another tool by OpenAI that everybody loves, and DALL-E as well. But I recently used Imagine to create some visualizations for a presentation that we did at Change Labs. So if you need to create an image, not a photograph, Imagine is specifically for people who are trying to create artistic drawings and renderings. So I asked it to build me or show me what a modern bank on the Navajo Nation could look like. And it created all kinds of great images for me. I ended up using this one here in the middle for a presentation that I did, or that Change Labs did, to President Nygren. And it was funny because he was like, wow, how did you guys, where is this? Did you guys actually, what's going on here? But, it literally took seconds, and it really helped us drive home, we could have a bank on the reservation and this is what it could look like. And imagine if there's one in Windrock, there's one in Kayenta, there's one in Chinle. I don't have to tell this audience, I think, how critical imagery and video is to storytelling. And now, there are no pictures of a bank on the Navajo Nation because a bank doesn't exist here, or at least a Navajo Nation bank doesn't. But imagine if you could just have AI help you visualize and generate that concept. It's a really, really powerful tool. So we wanted to throw that one in as well. All right, handing it back to Holly, let's talk about how you can use generative AI to generate your social media content.
Yes. So the first tool that I'm going to show you, or really kind of the only example that's kind of out there that's pretty free, is Microsoft Designer. And a Microsoft account is required to actually log in and start kind of using this. So really what it is that it's similar to the way that you're using ChatGPT. You're putting in a description of an image that you're seeking. You can be extremely specific about it. You can also try to be generalistic, but then it kind of gives you very generalistic response. So it's not really like a search engine. You do have to essentially describe an image in which you're looking for to be extremely helpful. And so what you can do is, like for me, I use the example that an Instagram post about the launch of my food truck on August 1st. So it brought up all of these images. So far, I believe it's only 12 or 15 within there. And then two, you can actually add an image that you want it to incorporate within. So maybe you have pictures of your food or of your truck that you have, and you're able to add it within it, and then they'll generate it with those images that you've uploaded. And then you can also to generate an image. So say that you don't really have a description, or you don't feel confident about describing what you want, you can actually do an image selection in which it shows you an infinite scroll of images that are a likeness, and then it'll actually populate on the right side of similar images or content around that image that you've selected. So some of them were cows, and I clicked on a cow, and then it generated all of this stuff about a farm, or blank text with farm animals, and as well as greenery and things like that around it. So that's one way that you're able to use Microsoft Designer. And so I went a little bit further, and then the next slide will show you guys about what it could look like. So those of you who are a little bit familiar with Canva, it does have a similar interface in which that you select one of the templates or one of the images that it's crafted, and you're able to edit it still. So you're able to input more kind of elements into it, change the font, change the spacing, and as well as any type of the customization that you feel like is very important to making this a little bit more less like a template and more specialized to your business. And then from there, whenever you're ready to download, as always, click again, Heather, you're able to download, and it will give you a recommendation of different type of file types that you need. PNG is, of course, recommended. You're able to download it, or even to log in through your, to create actual descriptions for it for both your Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And I think that's really kind of helpful, because I have led in the past a workshop that was like, build a better description of your social media posts, because I think there's great photography and as well as product photography that's done well on social media. However, I think business owners and other entrepreneurs very much forget that the content that they're creating is showing up in explore pages, as well as on people's suggested feeds of their news feeds. So when they come across an image, it's great, but the description doesn't show if it's available for purchase, how to purchase it, how much is it, and really kind of just shows the images itself versus like actually having a better description about what it is, what it's made out of. You're trying to pique people's curiosity. So that's always having a description within whenever you post something could be always very beneficial to getting people to click on your page or even get redirected to a website to make that purchase, or even to sign up for any kind of workshops that you have. So, yeah.
Moving on from branding to more looking at website copy or newsletters. Those of you who have websites or are thinking about creating one, or those of you who have MailChimp or are thinking about creating one, there is, instead of talking about new platforms that you can try, a lot of existing tools out there, Microsoft being a big champion, but also Squarespace, MailChimp, Expedia, WordPress, they now all integrate AI tools into their workflow. So instead of, if any of you use Squarespace, in fact, I'll just show a little example really quick on the Change Labs Squarespace site. So we use Squarespace to run our website. So if I scroll down and I want to edit some copy, I can click on it. And if I click over here on this little lightning bolt, anybody who has a new Squarespace account can use it. It'll say, what do you want to write about? And you can tell it to draft you copy for your website. Write me a paragraph about blah, write a sales pitch about blah, craft a persuasive argument about blah, write a list of pros and cons about blah. So it even helps you with the prompts. And this is great because when we at Change Labs work with entrepreneurs on building websites, we always say, like, the biggest challenge is writing the copy. You've got to do a lot of writing. Granted, you don't want your website to be all text, but there has to be something like, how are you selling your business? Who are you trying to sell it to? So I think it's awesome that now a lot of these AI tools are helping small business owners with that task, because it certainly does require effort and thinking. And now you can use Squarespace to do that. And then similarly, I won't show an example of this, but we use MailChimp at Change Labs for our news feeds, and tools like MailChimp do the same thing. So now you can, or here, write an email about our new product launch and offer 50% off orders today only. Now you no longer have to write the copy for that. It can draft something for you. You can go through, edit it, and you're done. You've probably saved, I don't know about you, but it takes me a long time to write copy because I overthink everything. So probably turn a 30-minute to an hour task down into something like less than 10 minutes. The last thing that we're going to talk about, probably the thing that generative AI it's inherent to what it does, is data analysis. So I'm going to hand it back to Holly to talk about this last of our 5 points.
Great. Yeah. So we'll be talking about the AI tools within spreadsheets. So one of the 3 top things about why they've created it, or what AI tools are doing right now within spreadsheets, is that they're looking for error detection, creating easier data analysis, and as well as better forecasting. So really kind of, that's one of the great things about incorporating one of these tools into your sheets that already exist. There's a lot of extension tools within Google Sheets, Microsoft Excel. I believe there's other types of AI tools that are coming out just from their platforms and their websites that I'll show you here as an example. But, you know, really kind of, if you're working with a lot of data, you're trying to use these to do a market analysis or do the insights from an external Excel sheet, and trying to understand like what your next strategic move should be, or being more confident about decision making, especially with a limited budget. These are kind of great tools to kind of incorporate into your AI spreadsheets. So as we go into the first tool, which is Zoho Sheet. It's a collaborative spreadsheet that's very similar to the way that you're using Google Sheets or the Google Creative Workspace. And so next slide, Heather. That's just what the homepage looks like. And so for this one, it's extremely similar to Google Sheets and how you kind of use it. You have a writer, a sheet, or even to a show, and then the work drive. So what Zoho Sheet does is that it doesn't automate an actual template for you. You have to have data within it. I just wanted to show you that it doesn't generate something. You have to have something to put it into. And that's a commonality with a lot of these tools, especially that are extensions into the current browser you're using or into any of the applications that you use. It looks at the data that you already currently have and not generate data for you like ChatGPT, or even to like the creative tools that I showed you guys. Like, it doesn't create it and analyzes it majority of the time. So going into the next one, which is called Sheet God. This is kind of like how you're able to use it. This is the 3 steps from its website. Step 1, that you're choosing a category of questions. So you're able to actually have an interactive chat within it. So you're able to, similar to ChatGPT, you're able to ask it questions about different kind of formulas that you need to be using, or even to analyze data or summarize it. So what you can do is essentially use this as an integrative tool into the current systems that you're currently using of Google Sheets, or even to Microsoft Excel, and then help them kind of summarize the data that you have, complex data, or even to extremely large sheets that you have of zip codes or of contact information. That's one of the great things. So one of the things that I really do like that I used within this, that I just saw a demo on, is that this person had a whole entire registration list. They used Google search survey, they popped it out into a Google sheet or an Excel sheet, and then they had what is the most common zip code of my participants based on this data. And so then it went through the whole entire thing, and in seconds it showed that like majority of the participants were coming from this section of their state or had this zip code. And so that's why it's like people were integrating this of knowledge and understanding of like, you know, faster than kind of having, of course, a very expert intern to go through it, but essentially this pops it out pretty quickly how to analyze data and summarize it. So the next tool that you could definitely use is Luminal. What you can do too is this is also another chat function within the systems that you currently use, or you can use it from their interface. So for example, what this arrow is pointing at is the question of which it says, show me the most affected zip codes in a chart. So this was again another kind of registration in which they had all these individuals going into, or they just kind of did they did an analytical they analyzed the data point and then they put it into a chart for them to either use or understand very, very quickly as the user. So you can definitely change that. You can actually have it as a percentage or a pie chart and change the form in which it's being displayed and further kind of help you understand like, you know, your services or the data that you are having it that you're kind of looking at. So also too, one of the things that and one of these AI plugins can do for your current existing data is that we always get like those reference when we're trying to figure out the exact formulas to put into our Excel sheets, or even to these redundant tasks of having them repeat in certain fields, you're able to use this tool to do that exact thing. So for like 4 cells, like 0 through 50, have all of them be a percentage of 100. And so whenever you're putting that in, it'll change all of those formulas instead of course, like you putting in every single cell or you using the shortcut to do that. It'll have that all like automated for you. So it has a lot of those redundant tasks kind of summarized and something that you don't have to think about. So that's what I really like about those.
The last thing is that a lot of the small business owners that we work with, even at Change Labs, we talk all the time like, oh, we need an executive assistant. We need help with this, or we need a virtual assistant to do this or that for us. I think everybody wants some component of that. So we threw it in honorable mention in here because you can certainly use a lot of these AI tools to assist with that sort of work. Like ChatGPT, for example, will recommend itineraries. Platforms like Expedia are integrating AI to plan out your entire trip for you and make sure, you know, this gets booked, this gets booked, this gets booked. So if you do have a bunch of tasks that you would normally assign to an executive assistant, or you wish you had an executive assistant to help you with that, summarizing a meeting. Or another great example is if you're using AI platforms like Otter. I think everybody on the Change Labs teams has an Otter. You can have ChatGPT go through your Otter and summarize the main points, or replicate or generate the to-do list and generate an email to everybody in the meeting, you know, reaffirming the to-do lists and delegation. Simple stuff like that you wish you had somebody who would do that for you. Now you have a tool that can do those sorts of things for you. Okay, so this is just our last question to you all. It's a rhetorical question, no need to answer, but how do you think you might use some of these tools that were shared in the presentation today? I hope that we've allayed at least some of the fears that you might have about AI. Somebody mentioned at the very beginning, and Jesse kind of doubled down on this too, that technology is a double-edged sword. I think there's been a lot of headlines about AI taking over jobs and so on and so on. And I'm sure there's a component of truth to everything. But the way I like to think about it is all of these tools seriously enhance your productivity. And I think all of us, especially as small business owners, wish that we had more time. We need more time for I need more time for strategy. I never get time to think about strategy because I'm always like writing emails and doing some quick research for blah, blah, blah. These are the sorts of tools that can help you get back some of that time. So I like to think about it from that standpoint. I'm not trying to replace jobs with these AI tools. I'm trying to enhance our productivity, enhance our creativity so that I can get back to strategy. So thank you, Anna, for the comment. If you all have any questions, Holly and I can hang out for a little bit, or please just pop them in the chat window or unmute yourself. Otherwise, I think we will hand it back over to Raquel to close this out.
Thank you, Heather. We actually do have one question from the hub here. The question is, can this be helpful for financial projections for small business owners?
So I think I haven't tried it myself. I think that would be an amazing exercise to do to see what would happen. Definitely I would type it into the chat function with any one of those plugins to like structure it in a way that's not the same of like you do it, but like one of the fun things that I like to do with ChatGPT is like, imagine you are, I think that's like the start of a lot of my prompts. And so like something maybe like, what does this business look like for a startup that has this amount of money over the course of 2 years? Like what that is a home-based business kind of thing. Like that type of information, as much as you can put into it of like maybe the startup costs and as well as like the collective costs, you can have it essentially learn from that and then build from there. That's one way that I can think of how it could definitely be a lot beneficial to you to be using and help with a little bit more of those financial projections. I don't think it will do all of it. If it does, that'd be amazing. I haven't tried it myself, but maybe setting it up in that way through the chat function for it to learn a little bit and then be able to spit out some helpful fields and as well as projections for what you're looking for.
I just printed out a tutorial on how to do financial projections in Excel using ChatGPT. It took seconds. It has the computer code for the cells, formulas, everything. It's pretty cool.
Like for the business itself, like where it actually puts in the fields of like the amounts, or just
you put in the formulas in the cells. You have to, have a little accounting background, but it's too long to print in the chat there. But I'm looking over because I do this stuff all the time, and it looks good to me. You have to have an accounting background to understand things like COGS and operating expense and things like that. But it gives you very clear instructions how to do it. I could work with this.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think if anything, I would definitely have it like spit out something. So like if you're like, I don't know, like a consulting company that's trying to find the financial projections over 2 years, and you want to work outside of the template that we provide, I think that would definitely be helpful of seeing like what it's going to give you and then checking with a CPA to see if those fields could be correct or things like that. Again, as Heather pointed out, there is bias within it all, or even too, there's going to be some marginal error as it continues to learn and understand what we're teaching it.
Great. Thank you so much, Heather and Holly. I know you're both super busy, as we all are, all of our team members. It's hard to pull them and have them teach us something on our workshops. So I'm super grateful. And everybody in the audience, thank you again for being here and taking time out of your day and listening to Heather and Holly's presentation. It's a lot of information. And then everyone
See you next week, Holly. See you next week, North Carolina.
Oh, yes. Yeah, great.
On the same panel together.
Oh, nice. So if you missed any part of Heather and Holly's, I did see a few audience members log on a little bit late before after we started. We are recording the session today, so don't worry about any of the information that you missed, or if there's any information that you want to go back to and rewatch. We do have this recorded and will be uploaded to our YouTube channel very soon. So if you I'm sorry, my brain. If you missed any part of my presentation, or if I talk too fast, I know I'm guilty of that. You can definitely reach out to me. My email was up on the screen earlier. I can answer it into the chat here as well. Feel free to let me know if you have any questions about Change Lab, about any of our programs, about getting connected with any of our colleagues here, Holly, Heather, and the rest of our team. I am more than happy to get you set up with that. And I don't have information on our upcoming workshop just yet. we do have bi-monthly workshops. So there's 2 per month typically. So keep a lookout for our socials and our website. We do have a newsletter, as who was asking? Anna was asking about newsletter. We do have a newsletter that you can sign up for. Reach out to me if you have any questions on that. And I will let everyone go for today. Thank you so much for coming.